Don Camilo.
You get my praise, you do. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. You get my praise, you do. My praise, my praise. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. You get my praise, you do. My praise, my praise. Oh, we supposed to be grinding in the spirit, do your part. We supposed to be a light, but you living like the dark. You on the opposite side, living the opposite part. I'm on a constant strive, in a race in my heart, in a fight by the daily. Carnal thoughts, that's a war. Let me pull out my word. In this battle, my sword. Gonna cut up the enemy in this spiritual war. How you gonna fight a battle with your sword looking door? Make them wonder, you can't see what I'm on. I go Stevie, I get all in my zone. Gotta walk by spirit, I can't walk by the sight. Gotta watch by faith, cause that's my spiritual. I keep my eye on you. You get my praise, you do. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. You get my praise, you do. My praise, my praise. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. You get my praise, you do. My praise, my praise. Oh, demons be creeping, they wanna jump upon you. Try to get up in your mind, they wanted to destroy you. People be throwing slanders, they wanna see you fall, but they be shocked when they see you standing tall. Have my back against the wall when I think about my life. Probably see me then, you would've thought it was alright. Whole time I was falling from a spiritual height, but now I jumped aboard, I'm on a spiritual flight. When I send up a prayer, I put a demon to flight. Now I got on my armor, cause I'm ready to fight. Got my lamp lit, hoping I can share some of my light. Had to change quick, cause I knew I was playing with life. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. You get my praise, you do. My praise, my praise. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. Oh yeah, you get my praise, you do. You get my praise, you do. My praise, my praise. Oh, 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 yeah. Give the Most High all your praise, your praise, your praise, your praise, your praise. Give him your praise, your praise. Give him your praise, your praise. Give him your praise, your praise.
Aki, I cannot hear you.
Oh man, you've been muted the whole time. See, we got the team. We got to do the teamwork. Anywho, still getting used to this board, man. Y'all can tell. But anyway, welcome everyone to another segment of Y'all Conscious Radio. Well, if it's not conscious, it's not acceptable. Reshid Anirote, La Tête Chabod, we Shabach, Aleyocha, El Elyon, Elohe Abraham, Yitzchak, Why Jacob. First, I want to give honor and prayers to He'll hit the causes to exist or be the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Can you hear me now, Chief? Can you hear me now? I'm good.
Okay, loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We both was muted.
Yeah, I don't know.
But hey, raw and uncut. Raw and uncut. That was Zamir Yaron with My Praise. Good song, man. Good artist. Definitely feeling his music. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. Look him up. Hebrew artist. Does a lot of praise music for the Most High Yah. So today, our topic, I think it's a very important topic. I think it's something that needs to be discussed in order for things to move the way that a lot of us claim we desire, But I'd like to say something as far as when the pressure's on, that's when we really see if what we speak of is what we really want, right? So the title is, Can We Build Within While Being Divided in Thought? Can we build within? And the within is talking about as a people by being while being divided in thought, in our thinking. What's your take on that, Chief? Do you think that's possible? I know that's not a real question, but we want to hear your thoughts on that.
No, it's actually a good question. I think in order to determine whether it's you can do that, whether they can be you can work together without being united. Whatever, it really depends on what it is that you're building towards. What exactly is the end goal? Because there's some things that like for instance, when you look at the current setup amongst Israel, there is a relative lack of unity, but there is interunity, meaning that within the respective camps and congregations, everybody is moving together for a particular goal in individual camps. But on the large scale, the unity is not not commensurate with what you're seeing on the smaller scale. So it's possible, but again, it depends on what is the end goal. But generally speaking, no, you can't. I mean, you may get it in pocket examples of successful movements, whatever, pocket unity, but in a macrocosm, no, not really.
Yeah, I don't for real change, for real change, definitely not going to do it that way. We still take our head off to those that are doing it that way, because a little bit of something is always good, and it also can cause it to shift a bit. I think I saw something or heard someone speaking, and they said all it takes is about somewhere between 10 and 15% to cause a dent, you know what I'm saying, in whatever it is that's trying to be accomplished, to start getting people to shift. I thought it was interesting when it was said. Of course, they went a little deeper with it. I get it, but it's still, it's not the goal that I'm hoping for, because I would love at least half, but I guess I got to be realistic. I want to read what I have put in the title, just to give a little more understanding as to what tonight is. Now, everyone that has been following us for these years, because we had other platforms, we've always in the core are trying to unite the man and the woman. We get on both the man and the woman, especially within our community, as being Israelites. We're trying to get to the original, I guess you can say, not original state, because it's always been rebellious people, but to the original thought, to the original setup, as far as within our culture, within our literature. So we always talk about both men and women, but it's something that I've been saying for the last week. Now, this was said by 3 different people. Now, this is nothing new. This topic is nothing new what we're about to speak on. But I'm like, man, it even caused me to kind of shift the topic of today. So I'm kind of bringing them together. But it was spoken on 3 different occasions, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to start off with a post in a little bit, and then I'm gonna go into 2 videos. But what I wrote down was today we will be speaking about ways that can assist in our building within the community to bring us closer together. That's nothing new with me and Chief Zebulon. And our previous platforms with topics like the Black woman being God. That is something that's been coming up this last week on 3 or 4 different occasions I've seen. So I said, okay, let's speak on it. So with topics like the Black woman being God, which makes the Black man what? That's the question I want. What makes the Black man what? That's something we're gonna talk about. Right. Does this doctrine harm or help our community in its current state? Does this doctrine, this teaching, harm or help our community in its current state? Does empowering one person affect the collective? And what is the end game? And does that end game put us as a community in a better position? That's something that I think needs to be thought about. That's something that I do not believe a lot of us are taking in consideration. And that goes into what our conversation was on last week. As far as, coming into this consciousness that people speak on, coming into this knowledge of who we are, we still got that residue, Chief. That residue of not having a foundation of culture to begin with, not having a foundation of wanting to thrive in unity to begin with. It's always been selfish, and it's a reason for that. We know that. But again, I've said this often, we're in 2021. We have to start changing our thoughts. Before I get into the post that I put up, any comments on what I said so far, Chief?
Nah, everything you said. I mean, it's right down the alley of what we've been talking about. I mean, this has been a reoccurring topic, and the reason why it's reoccurring is because the conditions remain as they are, and the reason why the conditions remain as they are is because the thinking remains as it is. So the fact that it's like you said, it's 2021 and we're still having this conversation in itself is troubling.
Exactly. All right, let's go ahead and get started because we got a few things we're going to bring out today. And plus, I like to play at least 6 songs throughout the show, 3 in the first hour, 3 in the next hour. So let's get to it. Let's go ahead. Let me share my screen. Share my screen. And we're going to go with... All right, let me see. I think this might be it. Let me check. Okay, that's not the one. That's one of the ones, but that's not the one. Give me a second. All right. This might be it. If this isn't it, okay, that's not it. So what I'm going to do is, it's right there in front of my face. One more time. Give me a second. I have like 3 of them that I have, or 3 or 4 of them that I have, and I'm just trying to see
brother.
Which one it is. Let's see which one it is. All right, this is it right here. All right, so I put a post up, and it was due to, like I said, what's been going on, what's been being said for this past week. I've seen 3 or 4 times. So I said, I have a question. If you comment aggressively, I will delete you. For all the women that believe the Black woman is God, doctrine, are you single? And if you are married, did you have this understanding before you were married or during? Trying to see something for my research. Now, I'm going to go to a specific person that was commenting the most. I'm not going to say any names or anything, but one of the things she did say, and you might, we might read it in one of them, is, I guess she thought my motive or the bias. She thought it was a bias in my questioning, but it wasn't. It wasn't, and I could tell that she probably hasn't followed me, throughout the course of being Facebook friends, because I never attack people. I've never
Right.
mess around with anyone's doctrines or beliefs from a standpoint of like, oh, you're wrong, you're bad. I try to come up with a common ground when I do express and teach certain things. I even teach why other people are believing or thinking what they think in that topic, and I don't say anything bad about them. You can vouch for me, Chief, and others that's watching. But it was a reason I was asking this question, because I see a pattern with this doctrine being said or spoken about by both men and women. So that's one of the reasons. I won't get into the other reasons right now. So I said, are you single? And if you are married, did you have this understanding before you were married or during? All right. So do you get why I asked that question, Chief? Or should I just go ahead and go into the comments?
No, I get it, but I think that definitely go into the comments so that obviously it can be made more clear to those who is listening and to those who will be listening.
Okay, cool. So the young lady that was commenting, she started off by telling me, instead of getting people's opinions, I should these are things you should study or whatever. And I was letting her know I have studied. It's a reason behind my questioning. And one of the things she asked, I put this post up, like this was the morning when she started commenting or speaking with me through the message. I put it up the night before, so I was trying to get people to interact the night before. During the day I was busy, so I couldn't get right to answering, but she was impatient. She went in and just kind of went in and started speaking on me not answering. I'm like, well, I'm working right now, so I can't get to it. But it was some impatience there. So she started sharing some books, and I think one of the books you said that you actually had, Chief. Do you remember that? What the book that was?
Yes, sir. The so-called Kabbalion.
Okay. So she was posting some books, and then another gentleman came on and he started commenting. So I'm gonna share some of the stuff that was said. I'm gonna share some of the things that was said. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this one. And it's a reason we're going into this. That's a reason. But I want to put this stuff out there before we all right. So there's the post. Okay. Okay, so that's the last one I want to show. I should have had this set up right. All right, so this one right here. So I scratched out the names. One of the ones that I wanted to share was a woman that I knew for a while, actually, and she basically said that she let me go to it because I want to go to that one real quick, but I have to start off. She was the first one.
Right.
She was the first one, so it's not that one or that one. Has to be this one. Has to be that one. It is. So she said, I believe the black woman is God. I have believed it for years, and yes, I am married, and I believed it before I was married and before a man told me. I believe it for scientific reasons and spiritual reasons. I said, interesting. So what is the black man? I think that question it's a valid question. It has to be a valid question. If the black woman is God, then what is the black man? Was that a wrong question for me to ask, Chief?
No, it wasn't a wrong it wasn't a wrong question to ask at all. The funny thing about that question, and not so much the question, because the question is straightforward, but the response is actually more telling.
No response at all.
Yeah, I mean, no response. But what was interesting is that she did mention that she believes this or whatever, or accepts this concept of being God for scientific reasons and spiritual reasons, which, those are always, scientific reasons is just like spiritual reasons. That's a very vague response. Those are very vague reasons. I mean, there's scientific reasons to show that the black man is God. So, I mean, and we could talk about, the whole thing about, the producing of life, and women say, oh, we are the bearers of life. We bring forth life, and that's okay, no doubt, yeah. But we, of course, but as men, we provide the initial spark. We provide the initial bringing forth of life. They receive it, we initially give it. So, I mean, we could play the back and forth, the philosophical, metaphysical, and, all of that, the Kabbalion, all this other good stuff. And it sounds good, but like you said, at the end of the day, if you're God, what is the black man? And I'll tell you what the black man is. A servant.
Speak on that, Chief. What you trying to say?
Oh, I'm just saying, it's obvious. It's because if you listen to the narrative, you all think about it. There's a doctrine, and I don't know if this particular person who is pushing these ideas on your post, I don't know if this person believes this to that extent, but there is a doctrine that's usually attached to women who refer to themselves as God or goddesses or whatever, and that is that at some point in the past, women could conceive, could impregnate themselves and bring forth life.
Exactly. That was actually, and what's crazy, real quick, I didn't even mention this. It's a brother who's a friend of mine on Facebook. I know him personally. He actually called me. This is what made me want to talk about this today. It was not just this post. It was not the 2 videos I'm about to show you. It was a friend of mine actually called me about it because he saw that I had commented on his post. He was going back and forth with a woman about that. Right. And she literally said, well, we can have, but baby, without it. He's like, okay, can you show me that? He's like, well, it's in the New Testament. And she don't even believe, she is not even someone that really believes in the Bible, but she used it for her benefit. And then that's when he went into he told me he went into the Adam and Eve and talked about, well, didn't he come out? So I'm like, it's interesting. And we're going to get to the meat of what the purpose of me even bringing this, because it's a war, man. And it's no way for us to get where we need to be if our thought is not in alignment, especially on the major things. We're going to have differences. So I'm going to bring out the other 2 real quick, and I'll be done with this. Chop it up on this. Wait till you see the videos, though, man. The videos, I was like, wow. And it's nothing new that we haven't heard, but it might be something new that someone else, hasn't heard. So let me see. 2 more. The rest of the comments, it needs to be seen. I think I went there. Okay, this might be it. All right, so I'm gonna try to read this. It's real small. All right, so basically, it was another comment she said, and she said something along the lines of she wanted to goddess. She brought out the goddess part too. So she was trying to differentiate the God part, woman being a God, and then she started speaking on energy. Now this brother came on and he asked the question. He said, so then unequivocally, the black woman is not God, right? She says, in respect to gender roles, I say goddess. She is who she is, respectfully. God for me is genderless. Okay, cool. We're talking about energy. So she went into the energies now. God in its totality would be both. Now I got to come close. This thing, this screen so small. It say we may have. So he came and he said we may have somewhat of a difference, a different conceptions of the higher realms, but in a mythological sense, the meta divine is genderless. But from where am I at? but from the realm of power, from my understanding, first came the male God of creation, which seems to be a universal accepted concept across ancient belief systems. Now that's key. That's key. Now he's not going into his Western understanding. He's going into, because I don't know him personally, but I knew him for some years through Facebook or internet, and he's very well read when it comes to ancient civilizations and mythological things pertaining to that. So he says, but worship of the feminine principle personified through nature deities was commonplace. With that being said, as you attested to, the goddess role of feminine deity or energy is not a god or male aspect of the heavenly hierarchy. She goes into saying, for a realm of power, nothing has control over you but you. So God will be yourself. The ultimate good God or goddess will be genderless. So the ultimate God is genderless. So that right there. And what else did he say? Okay, let me read what he said. This last thing. He said, like I said, ma'am, in a mythological sense, I'm speaking of the ancient mythological concept, not my personal beliefs, but an understanding of our ancient ancestors' conception of reality. With all due respect, from all the academic and scholarship I have, as well as mystic source materials, I have never come across the idea that the ultimate power or the true being of the hierarchy is a god or goddess, but genderless. So by definition, that the ultimate being state cannot be a god or goddess. The gods and goddesses are emanated from the ultimate realm of being or meta divine realm. Case in point, the teachings of whoever he said, the male creator God uses a Maya, an illusionary, wow, it's so small, y'all, element of the ultimate realm to create the physical world. So God is not the top of the hierarchy. That was interesting right there. So that's into his studies, X, Y, and Z. But I do agree with him when it comes to the mythological understanding of God in general across the board. It's never been the woman is God, from what I know. Now, I could be wrong. It could be other stuff out there, but I understand what he was bringing out. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, see, that's that's the problem, unfortunately, with metaphysics, and as being a person who heavily indulged in it a couple decades ago, and I get the lure of metaphysics, but the problem with metaphysics is that you'll never find a person who practices or believes in metaphysics to give you a consistent definition of terms in metaphysics. They change depending on who you're talking to. So, for instance, there's a statement that, God or whatever is genderless, but that actually defies the very principle number 7 of the Kabbalion. There's 7 principles.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. I'm sorry, Chief. I had to say wow on that because she presented that book. So is it a chance that she ain't really read it? If she's not, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, right. No.
Because I got books I haven't read. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got a couple books I haven't read, but I just got the book. Right. Go ahead.
Right. But there's an old saying. Right. No. It's not a shot at all. But there's an old saying that I received from my elders, and I put it in Hebraic ethics, and that is, never teach a lesson you haven't learned. So if you have a book that you have not consumed, it should remain exactly where it's at, on your shelf.
Yep. You
should not quote it. Now, maybe she overlooked it. Maybe it was just an oversight on her part. Whatever. That's always possible, and that's no problem. But the problem, of course, is that in the 7, what they refer to, of course, as the 7 Hermetic principles, you have what? First principle is the principle of mentalism. Then it's the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, and number 7 is the principle of gender. And I'm going to give you a quote, and I'm going to give you a quote directly from the Kabbalion on the principle of gender.
The book that she told me I need to get. Go ahead.
Yeah, right here.
Mm-hmm. That was the one that was posted. So those that's watching this, y'all saw the post of y'all, my friends. So go ahead.
7, the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything. The masculine and feminine principle is ever at work. This is true not only on the physical plane, but of the mental and even the spiritual planes. And then, of course, it goes on. But the understanding is that even in what they refer to in metaphysics as the Godhead, there is still gender. Because creation cannot have or possess something that God does not. If man has a masculine and feminine nature, and women have the feminine and masculine nature, then where did they derive it from if it is not within the Most High? Or if it, and I'm going to use the term God for now, just to mean that we're having a second.
That's what we've been reading, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're saying that God has no gender, then either you have no gender or the God that you believe in is limited, because how can you possess something that God cannot possess? Then the question is where did masculine and feminine principle come from, seeing that it's not from God? If God is not masculine and feminine, that means that he does not possess, when I say he, but it does not possess masculine and feminine principles. And if it does not, but man possesses masculine and feminine, then are we saying that man and women are actually above God because we possess a nature that God does not have?
Woo.
Now, this is a metaphysical conversation. That as Israelites, we don't bust our heads over it because we understand the nature of the Most High. So we're not busting our heads. But metaphysicians, they're busting their heads because the Kabbalion itself, although they say, it's universal principles, but when you manifest these principles in the earthly realm, it's like building, it's constantly shifting. It's like building a house on sand. It's constantly shifting. This is it goes right back to why 5%ers always say that they say that their understanding is the best understanding. So whoever, so God's understanding shifts depending on who you're talking to.
Right.
In metaphysics. That's why, think about it. One of the most famous metaphysicians in the hip hop generation is KRS-One. But look at every single one of his albums from 1987 to now. No consistency of doctrine.
Right.
There's no consistency. 1 minute he's saying this, the next album he's saying something different, the next album, and he's all over the place. And this is what metaphysics does. It gives you the belief in terrestrial godship, but the spirit realm is transcendental, meaning it is far beyond your understanding, so you don't have to deal with it. And if you don't have to deal with anything beyond the terrestrial, and you only have to deal with what's here and now, then you're just as confused as, or just as distant as the God that you say you believe in. It's a bunch of circular reasoning. And believe me, I used to practice this stuff, and I realized, I'm like, yo, God.
If the sister checks this out, I would definitely ask her to look a little deeper into the book that she suggested that I get, what you have, and apparently you actually have some knowledge. And I said she doesn't, but you have some thorough knowledge on it, being that that's what you understood or practiced in your younger years. But we're gonna go ahead and play the next song. Try to squeeze some of these songs in before the 10 o'clock hour. This next song is by Daoud Rahim, and it's called Move Forward. And we're going to move forward after this conversation.
Yeah. Let me talk to him.
Can't take back my mistakes, I can only move forward.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't undo what's been done, cause it's done.
So what we do?
Don't judge me on my past
Come
life.
on.
Don't judge me for my past problems. Don't judge me for the past struggles. Love me for who I am. Love me for who I am.
Say what?
Don't judge me for my past life. Don't judge me for my past problems.
Just want to talk to
Don't
my
judge
family.
me for the past struggles. Love me for who I am.
Let's go,
Love me for
Hakeem.
who I am.
Brothers, we've been oppressed by the system, but can't play the victim. Gotta repair the women we broke and the children left with them. Build up the neighborhoods that we used to burn down. We used to be crack houses, rental properties now. Pray with instead of praying on our elders. Return to the wisdom that whenever we followed, it never failed us. I know we have enemies, I'm not a fool. Can live by the bullets of knowledge, it's time that we choose. Similar to another choice that needs a redo. Covenant renewed, we've been reproved. That time is past, now what we do can restore the whole nation. You are not your past. Congratulations, let's go.
Can't take back my mistakes, I can only move forward.
Let's get it.
Can't undo what's been done, cause it's done.
We know what we did, but
Don't judge me on my past life. Don't judge me for my past problems.
nah.
Don't judge me for the past struggles.
Love me.
Love me for who I am. Love me for who I am. Don't judge me for
Yeah.
my past life. Don't judge me for my past
Come
problems.
here, sis.
Don't judge me for the past struggles.
We gotta talk
Love
too.
me for who I am. Love me for who I am.
You've been abused, misused, and left alone. I'm sorry on behalf of the brothers, we've done you wrong. Charged to be your protection, not bring you to harm. But there are things by your hand this nation suffer from. No more using children as leverage instead of blessings. Use your mind and not your body to get an advantage. Understand we need each other, you're not independent. There's strength and humility, beauty is the standard you give it. Mend the sisterhood, make sure your sister good. There's power in numbers, build the house again. Using love as the lumber, a woman is one of God's greatest creations. No sis, you are not your past either. Congratulations, let's go.
Can't take back my mistakes, I can only move forward.
It's only gonna work.
Can't undo what's been done,
Me.
cause it's done.
You, us.
Don't judge me on my past life. Don't judge me for my past problems. Don't judge me for the past struggles.
Gotta keep going,
Love me
though.
for who I am. Love me for who I am. Don't
Yeah.
judge me for my past life.
We know what we
Don't
did.
judge me for my past problems.
Let's get
Don't
past
judge
that.
me for the past struggles. Love me for who I am. Love me
Okay,
for who I am.
let's go. Take it away.
I take each day as it comes.
Woo!
I keep looking forward. I won't dwell on the mistakes from the past. You shouldn't have done.
Hey,
I can't
hey.
take back my mistakes. I can only move forward.
We say,
Can't undo what's been done, cause it's done.
now everybody say with me, say what?
Don't judge me
Come
on my
on.
past life. Don't judge me for my past problems. Don't judge me for the past struggles.
Love me.
Love me for who I
Love
am.
me.
Love me for who
Yeah,
I am.
come on.
Don't judge me for my past life. Don't judge me for my past problems. Don't judge me for the past struggles. Love me for who I am. Love me for who I am.
Yeah, that was Daoud Rahim from Yehudi Gang. That joint is
Nice song.
nice song, man. Nice song. And let me just say this, man. Again, this episode is not about bashing the sisters at any cost. This is just to put out there what's being talked about and then introduce a thought that I believe and perhaps Chief believes to where it can help put us on the right playing field. Because I honestly believe that before you make a move, your thought is the igniter in the movements that you make, you know, in the way that you are, in the actions that you express and do. You know, one of the things that I was thinking of, and I had to ask myself, I'm like, a lot of people that speaks on saying things along the lines of, the black woman is God. And I asked that question about single. I asked that question about marriage. It's always exceptions to the rule, but a lot of people that I see speak on that are single and or are having difficulties in their relationship, or their relationships, or I should say marriage, um, breaks apart. Why? Why is it important that I'm saying that? Because of our thought process. The things that we say manifest from our thought process. Y'all ever heard of, and Chief spoke on this before we got on, like a God complex? When you continuing to say something about yourself, and if it's not something that could be fruitful, not only from yourself, because some people say, well, this is just empowerment. I'm all about empowerment. But it has to be an end game with this empowerment. If you are saying things or doing things to empower yourself, say that again, Chief.
Empowerment to do what?
To do what? Right. And matter of fact, I want you to speak on that. Let me just say this last part, and I need you to speak on the empowerment to do what. I'm probably gonna move one of the songs away, man, because I really want us to get on this. But so I'm gonna say it real quick because I want you to jump on that. It has to be a goal. Yes, build yourself up, but
right.
That building yourself up should transfer into what a lot of people are always talking about. We need to do better, our community, this and that. Well, if you're only building yourself up and this empowerment on yourself, and you don't really care about the community or the people you're speaking about, then it's useless. On a larger scale, maybe it helps you out a little bit, but ultimately that selfishness is going to cause things to fall apart in your life at some point in some fashion. And with that, you had said empowerment of what? Go ahead, Chief.
No. I mean, it's because, like you said,
you gave some examples on empowerment too, or what you was talking about. I said you gave some examples on the empowerment that a lot of people, we're doing this to empower ourselves. Okay, but the actions, the outcomes of how they operate after that empowerment. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like, listen, none of us have a problem with the idea of empowerment. We talk about this all the time with Israel. The scriptures, in itself, is empowerment based.
That's right.
When the Most High says that it is I that gives you power to get wealth, there's always talking about empowerment. When you keep this law, when you keep it, you embody it, and you manifest it, empowerment is a given, and you will be able to move throughout the world as Yisrael and make power moves. So we're all for empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the empowerment that we're talking about in this discussion is that when you hear women, and this applies to brothers too, but for the conversation, when you hear women talk about women empowerment, what do they mean? Like what is the end result of that empowerment? So, for instance, when white women started pushing feminism, when women's lib for their mistreatment of at the hands of their white male counterparts, we saw what their outcome was, what they were pushing for. What were they fighting for? They said, hey, we want equal pay. We want equal representation. We want this. They were actually giving concepts that actually had to be worked out in law, legally had to be worked out, because they were saying, hey, listen, we don't want to be on the bottom rung. If men can go out there and make a living for themselves or whatever like that, then we should have the ability to do the same. So they were looking at very tangible and very workable concepts of empowerment. Mm-hmm. That's why they were able to make the moves that they made. Their whole issue wasn't about necessarily selfishness in that sense, at least not the original intent of feminism. Their thing was, hey, what men have, we want to be able to do too. If men can go to war or whatever like that. Hey, we want to, we want to fight for our country too. We don't want to sit at home and be nurses, whatever. We want to fight as well. Mm-hmm. But with Black women empowerment, if you want to know what that empowerment entails, all you have to do is turn on BET. Turn on BET. Turn on VH1. You can see what empowerment implies for the modern Black woman. What are they asking for? They're asking for the right to, to shake their ass on television, to act ghetto on television, to throw dishes at each other, to do all of this tomfoolery to make, making our people look bad. This is what the empowerment, the end result of the empowerment that they were seeking. Mm-hmm. And then they start talking about, their God, what their empowerment, what they're trying to extract from their empowerment is not being accountable to anyone except themselves. That's the end result of the empowerment that they're talking about.
And what's interesting, saying that goes into my original topic or title for this episode today was send them out only to build within. That was going to be my title. Okay. I was going to bring out Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah 29 when it talks on how we should conduct ourselves and build and thrive as a community, and one of the things that I was speaking on when I'm talking about send them out, I'm talking about the children, because a lot of the women we're talking about now and the men, they started off as children. We have a lot of women that, getting degrees and things like that. You heard Kevin speak on that. I mean, we've been speaking on this for years before Kevin came out, but getting degrees and all that stuff, cool. But this goes into what I was talking about. The empowering yourself. Is it only to end up for your selfish reasons? And I'm not calling no one selfish, but the definition in itself is literally for self. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with doing for self, but it needs to be an end goal. So when I say send them out only to build within, okay, go out there, get them degrees, go out there, become learn how to be a nurse, go out there, a doctor or whatever, and bring that back, and we can build in our community and thrive and don't have to worry about, being structured in a way to where we're helping everyone else. And right. I'm not saying not to work within or do commerce with other people, but bring it back. It has to be an end goal. It's a reason why we keep failing, and it's because of that selfishness. And the selfishness being the end goal. It's one thing to be selfish. That's okay. Because I want to be selfish. I'm learning Hebrew I want to be to the extreme natively selfish. But I'm going to bring it back to the community. You know what I'm saying? All of these things. Another thing I wanted to say, and I'm done after I say this, as far as this, when the title was going to be send them out only to build within, I was thinking of stuff like, get the children to learn Spanish, Russian, Arabic, French, bring it back to the community, teach those within the community. Now the whole community are able to be more valuable in a commercial sense or a commerce sense, to where we can actually do business with all types of people now. And people look at that and like, okay, these people are really valuable. But we're not thinking about it like that. That's the part when I'm talking about the man, the woman is God thought. A lot of women that I've heard say that are single, struggling, meeting these men that's telling them this, oh yeah, you're the woman is God is not, and using them. Mm-hmm. And it's causing you're being bamboozled. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my thoughts. I'm gonna bring the video after you say anything you have to say, Chief. I'm gonna bring one of the videos on because there's two videos. One is a woman speaking about one side of the coin, and the other one is the man. And you might be surprised on what you hear when I share the video, you all. But did you have anything on what I just said, Chief?
Yeah, I mean, and just to the point of Black women or whoever being God, I've heard this over the years, but I think somewhere in the conversation on that post, someone referenced or inferenced that the Bible tells us that we are God.
Yes.
Now, of course, Psalm 82 verse 6. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna leave it as such because it could be a topic for a different day.
Bring it out.
That's not what it is talking about.
Exactly.
That's not what it's talking about. But even if it is, then
she also posted. She posted the New Testament in Luke. I think it was when Yahusha had said. So she posted both of those.
Which one? About I and the Father are one?
No, when she said that, doesn't it say in your script? When he said, doesn't it say in your scriptural literature that ye are gods, which is from Psalms 86, like you said,
right? Which again, that's another That's a whole other subject about the integrity of that.
About it now, so people understand that we ain't leaving that out. Go ahead.
Right. But what's interesting is that even if we were to, let's just say we accept those texts as is. Let's just accept it as people who have accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gods. Okay. So when you hear people say Psalm 82 verse 6, like, I have said ye are gods. People normally, and this is some of the debates I used to have with 5%ers years and years ago. They were like, see, it says it right there. I have said ye are gods. Well, okay. The problem number one is, who is saying I have said you are gods? It ain't you saying it. Someone else has designated you a god. So whoever designated you a god has to be above you. And if there is someone above you, you are not the God that you think you are.
Boom.
That's number one. Number two, what does the very next verse say? But you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So, okay, whatever you think you are, you're not that right now. You are dying like men. And this takes us back to a script that many people gloss over because they don't want to deal with the implications of it in light of what those scriptures we were just talking about, and that is the notorious Ezekiel 28. It's really the whole chapter, but let's look at verse 9, and we'll keep it KJV for the standard listeners.
Right.
Will you yet say before him that slays you, I am God? But you shall be a man and no God in the hand of him that slays you. So you cannot be the God that you say you are if you are in the hand of someone who has the power to oppress you.
Come on, man.
Listen, whether you're a man or a woman, if you are on Section 8 housing, you're not God. If you get food stamps and EBT, you are not God. If you have to go to supermarkets to spend money to feed yourself, you're not God. You're not able to sustain yourself. You need the help of somebody or something else to sustain you on the most basic levels of food, clothing, and shelter. And the fact that you need food, clothing, and shelter automatically shows and proves that you are not God.
Simple. I used to say that even with the king, when people say king, queen, I had that conversation, and I don't knock people for saying it. Say what you say, empower yourself, cool. But if you're not acting like what the title is, also just even on the king and queen aspect, we call everybody queens, everybody king. But are they acting as these titles? Or how the people back then who were these titles were acting? But I'm going somewhere else with that. I need to stay on what you're talking about. We're gonna stay on that.
But even with that statement that you made, that's even more validity to it because listen, in ancient times, average people did not go around talking about yo peace king, yo peace queen.
Right.
Why? Because there is in the ancient world, there is such a thing as hierarchy. someone who is of royal nobility hears somebody on the street talking about, I'm saying, oh yeah, I'm a king and whatever like that, they're gonna be like, how? What kingdom? Where is your kingdom?
Exactly.
Where is your kingdom? Where is your queen? Where is your subjects? Where are your servants? Where are your riches? Where is your army? All of these things. So when we say king, it sounds good. It sounds good for the paparazzi. It looks good for the paparazzi, but in real life, you can't be a king if you are going out on a job interview begging for $15 an hour.
That's right.
Because kings don't beg nothing. Kings go and they take kingdoms. So when we use these certain, listen, and I understand because I came out of that way of thinking in the late 80s and the early 90s, that whole, we black kings and queens. It's all about the empowerment. It's a matter of taking people who don't think anything of themselves. We think we think the worst of ourselves, and these terms were important because they instilled a sense of being in us. So I'm all for that, no doubt. But that was back in the days when we were young, when we were children. You know what I'm saying? That was an awakening tool. But now we're in the real world as adults.
That's right.
We are not kings. We're not queens. Because just like a priest, king and queen, those titles, that comes through what? Family trees. Prove that you are of nobility. Prove that you are a descendant of the Davidic lineage. If you're a Hebrew who says, all right, that you have to prove through that lineage. How are you a king? We need to see the evidence. When Nehemiah and Ezra, when they were getting the people together and they wanted the priesthood established so that the worship of the Most High can be firmly established in the new setup, they required the people who were claiming to be Levites to do what? Show your registry. And if you can't show your registry, you cannot serve in that capacity, regardless of what you might believe you are. If you can't prove it, and that's the same thing that we're dealing with today. So the question, of course, is when you hear people say that they're kings and queens, that sounds good. But then now here comes the accountability. Now you have to tell them, well, if you're a king or if you're a queen, show your kingdom. Go build a kingdom.
That's right.
If you can't do that, then you're going to have, then it might turn out that you're just a rank and file person like the rest of us. But again, it goes back to the God complex. But we'll continue with that.
That's it. Look, we're going to go ahead and take another break. I'm going to go ahead and play actually a song of mine. I don't know if I played it, but if I did, oh well, I'm going to play it again. The other three songs are not my song. I mean, not something I played already. So, I got to plug myself a little bit, man. And this song,
that was a shameless plug right there.
Horrible. This song is Virtuous, which is, kind of what we talk about upright. I had said something earlier about getting back to the state in which our culture really pushes for our people, and that's being an upright or righteous man and a virtuous woman. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and play Virtuous.
Sitting here reminiscing on those days, wondering if I would ever meet you. Yeah, I know what the literature says. A virtuous woman is hard to find, especially in today's time. A virtuous woman is hard to find, even in the truth. Yeah, give all honor to the Most High, who resides up in the sky, putting all his angels in my life and prepared for me the perfect life. This wasn't nothing. It's a big deal.
if you can say yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Most High sent you the man or woman of your dreams. Oh yeah. That follows his ways, follows his word. Oh yeah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. That's all you can say. That's all you can say. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. For the wife he gave, husband he gave. Oh. That was someone by the name of Shema.
Yeah.
You know, myself. Called Virtuals, man. Little short little snippet of a song. But check out my music if y'all want, if y'all can. But we're gonna go ahead and go into the first video. The first video that still speaking on the woman is God. Again, this is not to shame any women or anything like that. We understand the empowerment part, which we have been expressing and which we have been saying. But one of the things that we have been saying, and I hope you all picked up on, is what is the end game? What is the end goal? You know, is this thought causing you to have certain type of relationships that fail or not have any at all? So it's something that you might want to rethink of saying or thinking, and then also saying where it came from and what's the reason behind it. Just some thoughts, just some things to think about. Right. But let's go ahead and share one of the videos, and maybe I'll play both the videos so we could rock out. Then play the other 3 songs. So I'll play both of them back to back. Chief, that's cool, or do you think I should do one at a time? What would you like?
No, we could probably play maybe the first one and then obviously offer our view on it, our little side commentary, and then shoot to the next one.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Okay, this is it right here. All right, so let me share this screen, and then let me go to it. So I'm gonna play the man's first. The man speaking first on this. So,
what's a conspiracy theory that you 1,000% believe
this
in?
Might not
I'll
be
go first.
It. Hold on.
Nah, I got you, Brody. I ain't even gonna hold you.
Oh, is it?
Women came first, and a black woman at that. Black women are the only organism on this rock with a genetic catalyst called the Eve gene, capable of making beings lighter or darker than themselves, no matter what their creative counterpart looks like. On a chromosome level, XX comes before XY, even on a Punnett square if we was mixing plants. Women have an XX chromosome, men have an XY. If we're going to keep it biblical, the story of Adam and Eve does not start with Adam. It starts with Lilith, who was the first young black goddess. If we're going to keep it scientific, if I was an architect, I would not build the key first. I would build that house from the foundation up first, make sure it was complete and secure before I make the key to open that door. Women are the house, men are the key. Women are the only beings in this dimension that can bring spiritual vessels or spiritual beings in the physical vessels in this dimension. So why are we playing this game? All the misogynistic and patriarchal manipulation to our history and culture. Why?
All right. He said a handful, didn't he? He said a handful. And he also labeled it as being misogynistic, by the way, too. You know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you rock out and I'll come in behind. Pause.
Oh no. I don't know if you're familiar with the comedian Patrice O'Neal.
She sounds familiar. But go ahead.
Oh no, it's a man.
He sounds familiar, but go ahead.
No.
The name does sound familiar. It does.
Yeah. Arguably one of the greatest, one of the most important comedians that you'd ever want to listen to. I mean, he was funny, but he gave you so much social commentary on relationship. People have often said that he is the comedic version of Kevin Samuels. The dude is heavy, but what he says, like he was like, you can always tell the kind of dude that you're talking to in a conversation based on certain words. He was like words like toxic, inappropriate, misogynistic. He was like those are feminine. He was like those are feminine words. He's like those are words that women use. He was like when you hear men use those words, he was like that's not a man talking. That is a woman talking and using the man as a vessel. Because misogyny, right? I mean, remember. Well, once again, because we spoke about this before about love language roundtable being way ahead of the curve. Wait,
don't lose your thought. I watched a video of Kevin the other day. I think it was a couple days ago, and he said something like, "Dude, we said this 3 years ago, like to the T." I was like, "Dude, this is crazy." Go ahead.
Maybe they were watching the videos.
I felt like it was when I saw that part. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, and this is something that we actually covered this in many episodes of Love Language, and that is that when you hear this term misogyny, it's the same thing. You know, when you hear people use the term male chauvinist, he's a male chauvinist. It's like, okay, well, what does chauvinism mean? Chauvinism is hatred for women. The only individuals who hate having relationships with women are gay men. Heterosexual men love women. They just don't want to tolerate the BS that comes out of their mouths. So when men who are questioning females on any issue, they're immediately referred to as being misogynistic. Oh, they're being
just about to say that.
They're being chauvinist. They're misogynist. And it's like, okay, but again, you can say what you want to say, but is it true? So to the point that he was making as far as, you know, the DNA and, you know, the chromosome, and it's like, okay, yeah, no doubt. Nobody's arguing the primacy of Black women. Right. That's not the argument. The argument is in the Black woman's primacy, is the man anywhere to be found? See, that's the question. And as far as and you know, him saying, you know, if we want to talk biblical, whatever, Lilith is not in the Bible.
Right.
Lilith is not in the Bible, and that Lilith is in Kabbalistic folklore, you know what I'm saying, commentary on the Bible. So, you know, but I get what he's saying. Listen, listen, I'm all for the uplifting of the woman. Yeah, uplift them. If they were downtrodden, yes, uplift them. But again, you can uplift women and not be anti-male. So you can always hear the anti-male sentiment in individuals like what we just heard, because the first thing that comes out of his mouth is misogynistic, patriarchal. What? That's not a man talking. That's not a man talking.
Or a manipulative man who's trying to use what he's saying to get more women to do what? Mess up with them, treat them wrong, to use them, and that happens.
You mean like Derek Jackson? Okay.
Yeah, we ain't gonna hold back on this platform. We gonna say what it is. That's what I mean. Yeah.
No, and that's the reason why I said Derek Jackson, because these are the type of individuals who pander to women because they believe that by pandering that they're gonna somehow get some type of play, you know what I'm saying, from the women. But you gotta remember something about Black women. They might be unruly, they might be a whole bunch of things. Black women are not stupid.
That's right.
They're not stupid. They know when they're being pandered to.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about pandering is that Black women are entertained by pandering, but they don't respect men who do it. They don't respect you. They'll laugh. They feel entertained because you're boosting their ego, but they don't respect you because they know that you are a turncoat, that you are actually going against your own gender. You're going against your own gender in order to make them feel better. It's sort of like how police, they like snitches. They want a person to snitch, whatever like that, to tell whatever like, but they don't respect snitches because they're like, wow, if you snitch on your own constituents,
That's right.
what would you do to me?
Come on now.
So they don't respect you. They will use you. They'll use you, but they don't respect you because they know that you are a turncoat, and they don't respect that. That's why women who speak against feminism, women don't respect those type of women. They be like, yo, they will shun women who speak against feminism because they're like, yo, how can you go against your own gender? And likewise, so when you hear these terms, you realize that, okay, I see what you're doing. No doubt. Go ahead, do your thing, Playboy. We know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. But at the end of the day, it doesn't solve the problem of these women. These women, you're giving them a God complex, and they're unable, like homegirl in the post, whatever, on a different post, she's a God. She's God, but she's struggling at a job.
Yes. I didn't want to bring it out, but I'm glad you did.
No, go ahead and take that. Go ahead and take it.
No, it's like, that's why everybody that knows me, Chief, everybody that knows me, all my my closest friends, I love all my relatives, but I got some close ones that I speak more often with. They know I'll say, man, don't call me a king. You know what I'm saying? Definitely don't call me no God, because I'm big on titles. I understand what titles are for. I understand their purposes. Everybody can't be a king. What about the people underneath the king? You know what I mean? So I'm saying that to say, you're calling yourself this God, but then you're struggling, and what's crazy is you're posting it. I'm like, okay, like, wow, like, you're inconsistent, and it goes back to the Kabbalic. What is it? I don't want to say Kabbalah. I was about to say Kabbalah, but Kabbalion.
Oh the Kabbalah. I personally believe that the Kabbalion is deliberately is made to deliberately sound like Kabbalah in order to give it some type of weight. But yeah, it's the Kabbalion.
And that's why I was thinking about Kabbalah when I was just fumbling with the words. But you said something in regards to the metaphysical, the meta, whatever. It's a lot of inconsistencies in regards to, because there's so much information that's not really standing firm, I guess you could say. This is me talking, not you, but this is what I'm seeing. And it goes into what we just saw with the post. Women of God, I'm struggling. It's inconsistent.
Right.
That's why you won't hear me say, like I said, a king. I don't have people underneath me yet. Now, when I have land and when I have all of these individuals under me, I'm still not a king, but I can be, a certain position within the culture, a higher standard position because of it, because of what my accomplishments are, the things that's handed down to me from standing on the shoulders of my elders or teachers. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I said this is because you had said, what can we follow back and see where you stem from? You know what I'm saying? So I'm building that right now from the shoulders and things that I'm standing on. Now you're going to be able to trace it back and then see how I came to be where I'm at right now, which goes into, last thing I'm going to say, which goes into the part I'm saying about the end goal. What is the end goal with the selfishness? It's okay to be selfish sometimes if it's if the intent is for that bigger end goal for the rest of your people, your culture, whatever it is you're trying to do. Now, selfish, I know it got a negative connotation, but I'm saying it in a way of you're trying to self-improve so that way you can improve the body or the people.
Right. I mean, think about the popular book. Well, people mostly probably know the movie more so than the book. But there was a book called The Spook That Sat by the Door.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember the I think what's his name, Sam Greenlee. And the book was about he was a CIA agent. It was a black CIA agent who was he was enlisted in that, in the CIA, and he kind of got like, from the experience of all of that, he kind of became disillusioned with it. So what he began to do, he said, okay, I'm going to, being that I'm the token black person in the, in the CIA, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to learn everything that I can learn from here, get everything that I can get. And then he would go back to the urban black areas and teach the people on the ground, these are the tactics of the CIA. This is how they move in this way. This is how they, this is how they infiltrate organizations. He's teaching the people everything that he learned in the CIA. Now,
right.
Most organizations, the best organizations, whether you talk about the Nation of Islam, whether you're talking about Kingdom of Yah, in Demona, all of the organizations, even Yahweh Ben Yahweh's organization, Temple of Love down in Florida back during the 70s and the 80s and 90s, they all had the same concept, and that is that, listen, if we are going to be able to thrive as a unit, as an organization, if we're going to be able to thrive, we have to go out and we have to go and enter into these various areas. So like, I'll take Yahweh Ben Yahweh, YBY as they call him. He had sisters, the sisters that were in that organization. He sent sisters, paid for them to go become nurses. Go get that nursing degree. Go become a doctor. You go over here, become midwives. And sent them all out to get that certification. Told the brothers to go out. You brother, you're going to become, I'm going to pay for you to go become a carpenter. You're going to learn carpentry. Brother, you're going to learn plumbing. You're going to learn electrician work. And he sent all of these brothers and sisters out and got all of them certified in these areas. And what did they do? They came back to the community with their degrees, came back to the community and taught everybody else so that the community as a whole could function. So there was a purpose for them going out to get their degree. And the purpose wasn't about them. It was like, okay, I'm going to get the degree, but it's going to serve the better purpose for my people, for my unit. So the woman who goes out and becomes the doctor and the nurse and all of these other things, she's not, in her mind, she's not like, I got this job and I got this, this degree now. I'm going to go do me. She's like, nah, we have the degree now.
That's right.
All of the most successful organizations have that concept of you send the spy. I mean, we see it in, we see, even in the scriptures. What did Joshua do with the spies? You send the spies out to what? To case the land. And then they come back and tell you what. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to, as a unit, work together, go out, get what we have to get. Go ahead and get that degree, sis. Go ahead and get that degree, brother. But you bring it back to the home. You bring it back to the unit so that everybody can thrive. And this leads right back into what you were saying about that selfishness, where it's one thing to say, hey, all right, let me put myself first so that I'm in a position to help other people. That's okay. But if you're being selfish for the sake of just being selfish, then you're no better than the oppressor that you speak against.
That's right. That's right. And it's funny we talking about go ahead, sister, get that degree, because it's another side of the coin against what Kevin says, right? But let me speak clearly on what I'm saying when I say that. I know the reason he's saying what he's saying, because he's talking about the end goal for you all as individual women.
Right.
What we're speaking of is more so community based. That woman we talking about already within the community. She already gonna have a husband within the community, because we have this setup of a collective body or whatever you want to call it. So what we're saying is not against what the man's saying, but it is different because we coming from a community base and he comes from a different base. I'll just stop there and say it like that. So I'm gonna go to the next song. And then when I come back from the next song, I'm gonna play the next video. So we had the male version, and I love what you said about you can see from the speech or what the words that people say, where they kind of stand, you know, and you're not lying. I've never heard a man who was for men call men misogynistic.
Yeah,
And when I say a man for man, I'm talking about a man that's for a man as far as like a real man will be for another man to be a man for the community and his family. So it's not no rivalry or war. Like, no, I'm for men, I'm against women. No, we're not saying that. So
exactly.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna go ahead and play this next song. And this next song is actually from a group called U3. Unique 3. I think it's a beautiful song. Some of you might know it already, or know them already. And if you don't, you're gonna learn them today. Without further ado, let's go ahead and play it. Actually had a different order. I'll play the other order into the other song next. But we're gonna go ahead and play U3. U3, come home.
He's giving you like so don't you refuse it. You know you always love
He's giving you like so don't you refuse it. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. He's giving you like so don't you refuse it. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. My child, please repent today. I was calling. You don't have to be afraid. There is safety when you make that change. Time is short now. Later's not guaranteed. We know we can raise and train the wrong way, but it's time for our people to wake up today. Come on. He's giving you life, so don't you refuse it. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. He's giving you life, so don't you refuse it. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. It's appointed on a man wants to die. So my child, please come home while you're still alive. You are chosen and set apart. He is calling. Let him in your heart. Wonder why you go through what you go through. Albert has the answers, and we know that. We know we've been raised and trained the wrong way, but it's time for our people to wake up today. Come on. He's giving you life, so don't you refuse to come home. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. Come home to a heart. He's giving you life, so don't you refuse. He's waiting. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. He's giving you life, so don't you refuse. You know you are his child. Come home, come home, child, come home. You know you are his child. You know you are his child. He's giving you life, so don't you refuse.
Man.
You know you are his child.
All right. That was U3, Unique 3. Definitely beautiful voices, man. I'm going to be playing some of their music throughout the, the course of the journey of this platform. 3 family members, 2 sisters, 1 brother, I believe. Awesome. All right. So for those that are just tuning in, we've been talking about one major subject, but we're tying it all in. Like I said, I was going to entitle this topic today, "Send Them Out Only to Build Within." As you heard Chief Zebulon speaking on before the song, as far as sending our women, our men out in their youth to learn things that could bring back to the community so it can thrive. Even going out learning new languages, which is what I want to really focus on with the community I'm a part of, more than just Hebrew. So that way it can open the doors a little more for more commerce, bring it back value to our community. But the topic is actually, for those that's just tuning in, can we build within while being divided in thought? And I led with this episode because over the past week, on 4 different occasions, are the Black women gods resurfaced. This is a doctrine that's been out especially heavily within. And Chief might know differently, but in the 10 years I've been in this truth, it really got heavy within the last 7 to 9. I'm sure it's always been around, but I think in this age of social media, it has really got big. As one of the sisters that we had read on one of the posts that I shared, she had said something about, well, she had this belief before getting married and before a man told her. And one of the men, and the popular men that I know that spoke heavily about the woman as God, is none other than Brother Polite. But we're not going to get into that. So we played one video and it was a brother speaking on why the woman is. Now I'm about to play the next video so we can speak on that. Appreciate y'all patience, man. I hope there's some things being said today that is beneficial. Man, it just switched up on me, Chief. Hopefully this is the right one. And it's not the right one. That's my actual Facebook. All right, so let me stop sharing the screen. Oh, was that the top one or the first one? We're going to find out. So that's the bottom one. All right, yeah. So that's the bottom one. Here we go. So where is it at? Here it is right here. So I'm about to start right now. So let me know if you can hear it. Here we go.
Women are not gods. Someone come look at this. There is no life in the womb, just death and sadness every 4 weeks unless a man puts life into it. The man carries life. He carries seed. His 2 eggs, testes, carries living, moving life forms that are being nurtured and maintained in his natural incubator that regulates temperature. The woman isn't God. I'm all for empowering women, but not when y'all put them on a pedestal like they're God. Women are not gods, and God is not a woman. We carry children into this world, but if it weren't for the men, we wouldn't have any children to carry. And I know it ain't easy to carry a child in this world for 9 months. I know it comes with its struggle, and y'all get applauded for that. But put some respect on our men, because they're the ones who really carry life.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chief. I'll let you lead off on that.
No, I mean, and listen, because I know people who, when they hear stuff like that and then they hear our take, they're like, oh, see, of course they're gonna say that. Of course they're gonna agree because see, that's that misogyny or whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, that again, that sounds good. That looks good for the paparazzi, but in real life, I mean, are we gonna sit here and act like what we learned in biology class when we were in grade school isn't true? Are we saying that sperm is not an intelligent life force that goes into the female vaginal cavity and travels and is in search for something specific, in search of something that it's never seen before, but knows where it's at?
That's right.
It doesn't know where it doesn't. It's never seen an egg in its existence, but it knows exactly what it's looking for. It knows exactly what to do when it finds it, and it gives a spark to the egg. It's not saying that the eggs are not living, because obviously they're living. They are living entities as well. But you can't have a living entity to the exclusion of the other. So if your ability to bring form to the cream, as we used to say back in the days, to bring form to the cream, if that is what makes you, makes you God, then why is it the source of that cream, which is the man's sperm? Why doesn't that make him God? Since he is giving you the necessary tools for you to manufacture life.
That's right.
And that's all I'm saying. And so again, I think the problem is that you have these extreme positions. You have these extreme women who feel like they're gods to the exclusion of men. That men are just their subservience, if you will. And you have men who believe that they are God to the extreme where women are they're doormats.
Right.
Both positions are problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that if you're saying, so if a woman is God, then the man has to be God.
That's right.
If the man is not God, then the woman is not God.
That's right.
And that's just and that's just being, just trying to be fair about it. But see, not to get too far off into something else, but I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, Aki, but there's been this recent resurgence of backlash against Shahrazad Ali.
Again now?
Yeah, 30-something years after the fact, there's a resurgence of backlash where
is it
people,
because of who I think it's because, or is it just?
Oh no, yeah, he's
Kevin bringing it out so much, and
yeah, Kevin is bringing it out, and that's because you think about it, you have a generation of mostly women and some dudes who are not familiar with Shahrazad Ali. That's from our generation.
Mm-hmm.
With Shahrazad Ali's book, I was about to say Message to the Black Man, Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. When that book came out, I was 14, going on 15 years old.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So we're talking 1989. I think the original publishing year was 1989, but it didn't hit big until like 1990. That's when it like really took off. And she got backlash even back then. I mean, women despised her. Oprah couldn't stand her. Sally Jesse Raphael, all of the media platforms of that time, the talk shows, they couldn't stand her because they're like, oh, how can you say? And they always use the same talking point. How can you say that if a woman is unruly, that you should give them a sound smack in the mouth with an open hand? Like, they read a book that was almost 200 pages long, and that's the only sound bite, right? And the funny thing is that she didn't say, hey, just go and abuse women. She said that the context of it was that when a civilized black man is dealing with an uncivilized black woman, and this black woman feels that an argument is not an argument unless blows are thrown. She said that this brings up a very touchy subject, and that is the defense mechanism for the black man. Like, how does he defend himself against a woman who wants to fight him physically?
Right.
So she said he has a couple of options. If for a woman who puts her hands on the man, he can either try to argue with her and lose, go tell his other woman about, go to his other woman's house and tell her about it, like, hey, yeah, this is what I'm going through. She was like, or give her an open-handed smack in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
She said, because these are the type of women that they don't react to logic. You can't talk to them. They want to physically fight you. So she said that, you know what? She was like, This is, she said, and I almost verbatim, she said, I am not saying that a closed masculine fist should be used. She said, no, there is no reason to punch a woman. She's like, I'm not saying don't punch her in the what she said? She said, when in doubt, she was like, I'm not saying when in doubt, knock her out. She said, no, there is no reason to punch her in the breasts or in the stomach or none. She said, an open-handed smack to the mouth. She said, why? She said, it's because it is out of that lower hole in her face that all her rebellion culminates into words.
Mm-hmm.
So the context is that if a woman, that you're dealing with a woman who wants to physically engage you, now what do? You can grab her, shake her, whatever the case may be, or she said, smack her in the mouth. You remember how back in the 1950s and 60s, those black and white movies, when a woman is getting all crazy, whatever like that, and the man come up and just smack her right in the mouth, and it's like it straightens her out. She's like, oh, this is what Shahrazad was saying, but she wasn't saying to hit women. She was talking about the unruly black woman who wants to fight a man.
Yeah,
but
that thing she got. No,
right, but no, right.
I had to throw that in there. Gotta be funny, you know what I'm saying?
Right, but nobody talks about it. So you have this resurgence of anti-Shahrazad Ali going on right now. There's even some Hebrews who are dialing in on this.
Wow.
But again, it's about it's about the they want it on one hand, but they don't want the accountability on the other hand. And what I mean by that is, with all of the backlash that Shahrazad Ali got back then and what she's getting now, because remember, the women who are now hating her are the daughters of the women who hated Shahrazad Ali back in 1990.
Right.
They are the offspring. And the funny thing about the backlash is that just like back then, nobody is giving her backlash against the Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man.
The other side. Book number 2, right?
Yeah, book number 2. I had all of, back then I had all of her books. But the funny thing is that when that book dropped, and she was more scathing against the men than she was against the women. She was giving men the business in that book.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a student of hers, so he learned very well. But that's the thing, is that when she dropped that book, guess what? None of the talk show hosts called her in. Nobody had anything to say about that book. Why? Because there's no argument. Of course, the black man is out of control. The black man is dirt. The black man he's a woman being. All of the you see what I'm saying? Nobody argued book number 2.
And that's the lack of balance that I'm seeing, that I've been seeing, even up until this point. Only been around. I'll be my birthday in 14 days. I'll be 37, bro. Wow.
37.
Yeah, 37. But it's always, since I've been in this world and conscious of it, in my late teens to young 20, I saw imbalance. I saw that, and that's the point of this episode today. Like I said, it's not to come at the women, but it is that lopsided balance right there. The woman is God. It is affecting, and what I try to do, and I know Chief do too, I try to pinpoint everything I can to help bring forth that balance. And that, even though it's something small to some people, well, Shema, why that's nothing big. Yes, it is. Anything that can fester in your mind or cause you to operate in a certain light needs to be, fixed, or a different perspective needs to be brought out about it, so that you can know, like, hey, it's kind of like us watching movies. We watch all these movies of people killing and all that stuff and things of that nature, but we never do it. It's like, okay, I need to put this out there, this perspective out there, just so you can know what's going on and you'll know not to do it. Like, we know that it's just a movie. We know that's just entertainment. We're not about to go and try to, if our next door neighbor getting in on our nerves, we're trying to kill them. You know what I'm saying? Some people do, but
Right.
but you know, that's the purpose of me bringing this out and us wanting to talk about it is because whether or not you think it's small is something, you know, not big at all, won't do anything. It does. Trust. It does. You could continue to tell a child that he's stupid or something like that. After a while, that child starts to act out on it. They said it's a study, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's power in words, right? They did a study on a plant, and the person was being real positive towards this plant. And I thought it was interesting when I heard about it. And then they had another plant that wasn't getting that same positivity in words. And this plant sit up here and thrived and grew. Yeah. And this plant that didn't get that, you know, didn't get the same results that this plant did. The purpose of me saying that is when you're continuing to pass this doctrine, this message, it's something that's going to grow from it. Whether it's going to be good, whether it's going to be bad. I personally think it's not helping us. It's not helping us because there's no true end game. There's no true end game towards success for the community as a whole. If you don't care about community, then this message ain't for you. This what me and Chief bringing out, it ain't even for you. So it's kind of like, you know, what's the point? But it is a point to touch those that do care about it.
Right. I mean, listen, when we're on social media, you know, when we are on social media, these are some of the talking points that we hear all the time. You know, we hear the term community, always community.
Yep.
But once again, these are talking points. These are things that people say because it's the Israelite thing to say, or it's the black thing to say. But when you say community implies what? That everybody is working together as a unit for the embetterment of said unit. We're not seeing that among. Right. Well, let me not say we're not seeing it. Let me not say that.
On a large scale, anyway, like on the
right,
yeah,
right. Let me not, yeah. You know what I'm saying? There is a significant portion of our people amongst our paradigm that does not, they don't partake in the idea of community, but they complain about why there is no unity in the and this goes back to, once again, love language, you know, shameless plug, you know, to the previous platform, you know, love language roundtable. Y'all should go check those videos out. Yes. But it goes back to, right. It goes back to what we've been talking about for years now, and that is accountability. And let's just call it what it is, because even though, listen, we're not bashing. Obviously, we're not bashing women, but we're just simply saying there has to be a consistent level of accountability for women as it is for men, because when men are out of pocket, women do not hesitate to chin check us.
That's facts.
When men say that they are God, you'll hear women, the narrative, the female's narrative will come in and be like, oh, how you God and you ain't even taking care of your children, or how you God and you don't even got a job. I mean, we heard Lauryn Hill talk about that on that song, That Thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That whole concept. And that's not saying that it's wrong. It is, it's correct.
Mm-hmm.
But if men's dysfunction disqualifies them from being a king, then a female's dysfunction in everyday life disqualifies her from being the queen. If you're on section, again, if you're on Section 8 and you're getting public assistance because you got 4 or 5 children from different men and you are functioning on your lower vibratory rate, you do not have the right to say you are a queen.
Definitely
In
not
ancient, in the ancient world, whether you're talking about the Hebrew, whether you're talking about the Israelite paradigm, whether you're talking about amongst the ancient Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Moabites, the Ammonites, all of the ites of the ancient Near East, they had a specific. They believed in titles, but they had a specific title for women like that.
Mm.
They were called whores.
Yep.
Zonot, or singular zona. That's what they were called. They were not called queens. They were not saying, "Oh yeah, she a ball, she a ball." No, you have multiple children for multiple men, and you're still operating in your, on a lower level. So we're not talking about the women who had these things going on in the past life and they've improved and convert. We're not talking right.
Which
we're
is
not talking about
the song that we play with Dawood Akeem, Move Forward. So we for that. Go ahead.
Right. So we're not talking about you, sisters. We're talking about the ones who are who are already in the truth and they're still moving as if they're in the world. Mm-hmm. Those type of women are called whores in ancient time. Men who move that way, they weren't even called men. You were called, you were called enos. You were a weakling. Mm. You were a weakling. You were sick. You were not ish. We spoke about that in the manhood lecture, about the distinction of man. So there's, in scripture, there's an understanding that if you are not moving the way a man is supposed to move, you were not even entitled to be called ish. No, you're enos. You're a weakling.
That's right.
So the accountability is there for men. Men have to hold that. But women are not being held to that same accountability when you try to check them and say, hey, hey, sis, you're dysfunctional. You need to get your mind right. Then you become a misogynist. Then you become a male chauvinist. You're all of these different things. And it's like, like there was about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a sister, I'm not going to mention her name, but there was a sister on Facebook who she was trying to make the point that that one of the reasons why she was considering not being in the truth anymore was because the Bible, she said, oh, it's because it's misogynistic because they focus on all of the bad women. They look at all of the evil women, and it's like, wait, so. And I remember asking, I said, so wait a minute. So you're about to walk away from the scriptures because because why? Because women like Jezebel and what that these women are focused on? She's like, yeah.
Only like two. I don't even know a lot of women that was talked about like that though. In the light that she's saying, I can only think of like 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3.
Right. It's Jezebel,
Eve,
right? Jezebel, Eve, and all of these. And I said, but wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Out of all of the dysfunction in scripture, I'm willing to go on a limb and say 95% of the time it's talking about the men's dysfunction.
Man, yes.
So how can the scriptures be misogynistic when the authors of the scripture is putting the men on blast and only 3 or 4 evil women are ever mentioned?
That's it.
I mean, if it was true misogyny, if it was, you shouldn't see any evil men in scripture. Dawid should be a perfect individual. There should have been no murder and all of the stuff that he did. Solomon should have been perfect. All of the kings of Israel and Judah should have been perfect. They should have been righteous men who were brought down by the evils of their women, but we don't see that.
That's right.
95% of the evil in the scripture is done by the men, and this text is written and transcribed by men. So how can it be misogynistic when the men are writing a horrible history of themselves?
And that's another topic too. I want to get on another day with the whole. I ain't gonna get into that now, but we're gonna go into the next song. Come back, have some closing statements in regards to this topic. And I'm going to play the last song after that. So let's go into the next song. And this is none other than John Boy.
Greatest of all time.
the greatest of all time. I hope he check it out. Listen, self-proclaimed, but great dude. You know, a lot of music, man. He is a GOAT in that regard. I will say that.
No doubt. He's put in his work.
30 albums, 30 something out, 31, 30 albums. Definitely good. Less than 8 years, I think. But here we go. Paradise.
Instead of me fulfilling my prophecy, I have to start one. Instead of me, doing a good job and carrying on the empire, I have to build one. And that's a hell of a job for a 21-year-old. You know what I'm saying? That's a hell of a job for any youngster, male or female, to have to build an empire for your family.
Rather sell hella drugs. Hell is a hell of a drug, I'm trying to tell you. Doodle around to me, 28, verse 28. Got my people going mad and they heart is full of hate. On the island full of idols and I'm just trying to escape. From night to the noonday, I'ma seek his face. Yeah, I follow rules and they not coming from me. When they ask me what I do it for and what's the bigger plan, trying to make it to the paradise. 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 Your life going wrong cause you ain't living right. Your life going wrong cause you ain't living right. Trying to make it to the paradise. Trying to make it to the paradise. Okay, yeah, I like my odds, we can roll a paradise. You got a pair of eyes, but you lost your parasite. Your vision is corrupt with sinful parasites. You're not living right, but I'm not comparing lives, cause we all fell short. I'm just trying to reach the heights. It's just copying your page from the book is what it's wrote. Got my mind on my goals and my goals on my notes. They'll tell you that you're wrong and they won't give you advice. And I see a lot of scripts be the flotation device in this foul life. I hire like the mama bird, my head up, cause I'm fed up. My judge is dreadful, I'm just dreaded up. Had a dry life, went to the water, had to wet it up. Before we take the stage, you gotta set it up. It's heaven for a G, don't repent it, I don't know, man. I just keep moving forward to the place I wanna go, man. Trying to make it to the paradise. 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 Your life going wrong cause you ain't living right. Your life going wrong cause you ain't living right. Trying to make it to the paradise. Trying to make it to the paradise.
I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but I'm saying that we go through that type of thing every day. We don't part the Red Sea, but we walk through the hood without getting shot. You know what I mean? So I believe God blesses us. I believe God blesses those that hustle, those that use their mind, and those that overall are righteous. I believe that your karma, everything that you do bad comes back to you. So anything that I'm doing that's bad, I'm gonna have to suffer for it.
Yeah. Okay, found what was missing, now I'm on a mission. Now they saying they won't beef and I just left the kitchen. Pray the son, help me some, he the road to riches. Can I hold a little grace and I pay the difference? I ain't tripping, got my whole soul in the game now. They say, boy, oh boy, you a lame nah. Ain't switch lanes, whole direction change nah. And it ain't no surprise what I'm about to do. Won't turn my back on this word, but I'm about the truth. Wow, there you go, salute. I'm a soldier in the truth, and you will be too if you knew just what to do. The camps and the camp list, shout out to the crew. The word for the nation, but the kingdom for a few. I just stay doing me, cause it's hard doing you. Cut your whole doctrine up with this katana. If you say don't keep the law, and we just tryna make it to the paradise. 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 Your life going wrong cause you ain't living right. Your life going wrong cause you ain't living right. Tryna make it to the paradise. Tryna make it to the paradise.
I think I'm me because of Black Jesus. I'm me because of God. I can't explain why I shine and no one else shines. I think everybody shines in different things. And a lot of things I can't do. I can't play basketball like every other black person in America. But I can act. I know how to go to that true spot in myself because I'm there every day. I can be me. I can be whoever because I'm true to me. I can go to neutral easily. A lot of people, black, white, Mexican, young or old, fat or skinny, have a problem being true to themselves. They have a problem looking in the mirror and looking directly into their own souls. The reason I sell 6 million records, the reason I can go to jail and come out without a scratch, the The reason I can walk around, the reason I am who I am today is because I can look directly into my face and find my soul. It's there. It's not sold. I didn't sell it. It's still within me. I still feel it. My heart is still connected to my body. So I could, any character, I'm going to bring that intensity, that truth, that honesty to it, because I have to repay for that blessing from Black Jesus, from God. I have to pay for that by shining.
All right. That was John Boy, Paradise.
That was a cool song.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I mean, people who know me know I'm not really big on that, on the Southern bounce type, whatever like that. But,
yeah, that
good
definitely
message, man. I like it.
You got some good tracks, man. Good songs, good messages, of course. John Boy, if you're watching, shout out, man. Leave a comment, subscribe, man. Share it to your people. But I think today was a good message. We definitely talked about some things, and we're going to be doing this going forward. A lot of different topics, things that's current, that's happening, just tying it back into the end goal. The end goal that we're trying to do is to bring the family back, not just to bring the family back, but to figure out a way to, go into the community mode. Myself, I'm part of one, and we're building to do it the way that Yirmiyahu 29 speaks of. But for those that's not a part of one, we need to change our thought in order for these things to transpire, the things that we really say we want and we hope for. That's the only way.
Right.
Anything else you want to say, Chief? Oh, I do want to say another thing too. For those that's watching, either now or later, we do plan for the platform to grow a little bit more. We are hoping that we can get, at least one or two, women on the platform with us, so we can have this balance of energy, like the woman was saying in the one we was reading, the post we was reading. But just to keep that, that balance and just, other perspectives, so be on the lookout for that. And those that's watching, if you are interested, send a message, man. If you are a woman that has, the community and the people in mind. So without further ado, Chief, you want to close out or anything?
Oh yeah, not just pretty much just to tie up what we've been saying, and that that because it's sad that we have to keep repeating this, but this is not a bashing section. It's not a session for bashing. But the reason why we have to keep saying it is because that is the narrative that has been fed to our people for so long, that when women are being checked on or being checked on their issues, it's not, oh, okay, yeah, brothers are just trying to pull us up and get us to be our best selves. It's, oh no, there's hate. It's hate. And it's like, no, because again, if black, so-called black women don't have their heads on straight, remember, you're the mother of civilization, as they say, right? You're the mother. So if your head is not screwed on straight, then the children that come from you are also going to be dysfunctional.
That's right.
I think we just heard a song from John Boy in which he was quoting Tupac. What did Tupac say in what was that? And Keep Your Head Up, when he was like that if we don't, the way we deal with our women, if we don't deal with them right, he was like, what? He was like, then the ladies have a race of babies that'll hate the ladies and make the babies.
Yep.
So there's no, so we're not removing men out of responsibility. No, we're saying that men should be very responsible, but men have never been allowed the comfort of sliding away from their responsibility without being checked. That's the difference. Women have allowed to be able to skate by their accountability, whatever. We're just saying that even Stephen, if we're accountable, as we should be accountable, then yes, you should hold us to a certain standard. You should tell the brothers, hey, brother, you're full of crap. You need to get yourself together. You're off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as men, we should be able to say, you know what's this? You're absolutely right. let me go step to that. Let me go step to that and fix that. Likewise, if a brother says, sister, yo, you're off, it should not be a gender war. It should be like, you know what, brother? You're absolutely right. I am off. Let me go step to that.
Yeah.
Equilibrium. That's another another principle out of the Kabbalion.
And I agree with it fully. For those that are grasping, but kind of struggling with grasping what Chief bringing out, when he said along the lines of, you know, we always been held accountable. I know some people be like, well, no, that's not true. Look at all the stuff that's going on. What Chief Zebediah, I believe, is bringing out. He could speak for himself and correct me if I'm wrong. When you think of all the movies, all the TV shows, you know, it's platforms for women to make sure we're accountable. Like the system is making sure, even though it's a lot of bad men out there, but it's always accountability. Even when you brought up the scripture hold us more accountable. Numbers chapter 30, if I'm not mistaken. You can put your and for those that don't know, I'm just gonna say your vow that you make can be, you know, pulled away from your father or your husband to save you, because vows are important. And if once you make it, you can't pull back. Ask me if anybody can do that for the man.
There you go.
So when we're saying that, as far as the scriptures is misogynistic, or, you know, no, the accountability statement that he's saying is not true. No, you got to look at the stuff that I just brought out, that he brought out as well. And even with the scriptures that I just brought out in Numbers 30, you know, and throughout the whole text, we have been. You can't just look at what's around you. Look at the whole thing in totality. So we are just saying we all need to be able to communicate. We all need to be able to come back to this place of true unity and true desire of wanting to succeed and to be where we're at, you know, as a community. So that's why I brought up the woman as God into this conversation, so that we can try to come on one accord in thought. And without further ado, I'm done with my statement. You'll make sure y'all tune back next week. We're going to have some more for you. Keep bringing them topics. Keep bringing them thought-provoking, episodes. And we hope you continue to tune in, subscribe, share, and like. Unlike, for heaven's sakes, if you want to. But I'm going to play this last song and let us go out. Anything else before I play it, Chief?
Yabareka Yahweh Yishmareka. May the Most High bless and guard you, Yisrael.
Hallelujah. All right. Last song, Ben Blackwell, fluent Hebrew speaker, and the song is called Kadima. So this is a Hebrew song. Let's check it out. Wait, wrong song. This is the song right here. My bad. Kadima.
When it goes, oh, in another one. Yeah, and it goes. כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך, וכמה זמן נפלתי כדי לחיות ברמה שלה. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. קדימה, די עזבי אותי. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, נו כבר. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. קדימה, די עזבי אותי. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, נו כבר. לכי, ממי, אני לא נושם, כבר נפלתי, לא יכול יותר, אני לא מחפש לריב, נמאס לי כבר, יאללה ביי, קדימה צילי מחיי. משקיע את כל מה שיש בתוך הלב, מרוויח עולם שצער והרבה כאב, מרחם עלייך כי הגלגל לא תסתובב, הגלגל לא תסתובב. זוכר את הלילות, זוכר את המילים שגרמו למריבות, זוכר את השקרים שהתחפשו כהבטחות, זוכר שלבד גם אפשר לחיות, אבל עזבי שטויות, בינתיים פה יושב מוחק את העבר, המערכת יחסים הפכה עבר, וזה בסדר מצידי כל עוד האש בוערת לא ירד שלג בליבי ביי. היה פעם קשר רציני, עכשיו הקשר רק מזיק כי הקשר לא בריא. לאהבה אין צומי בשבילי, עד שמצאתי אהבה כבר איבדתי את עצמי. ניסינו מיליון פעם ולא עבר, ליבך כבר לא נמצא אצלי ביד, לא האמנתי מההתחלה, הגעתי לטופ האוטו שלי לבד. One time. F-A-M-O. כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך, וכמה זמן נפלתי כדי לחיות ברמה שלה. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. קדימה, די עזבי אותי. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, נו כבר. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. קדימה, די עזבי אותי. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, נו כבר. לכי, ממי, אני לא נושם, כבר נפלתי, לא יכול יותר, אני לא מחפש לריב, נמאס לי כבר, יאללה ביי, קדימה צילי מחיי.
יאו, תגידי כמה פעמים כבר ניהלנו את השיחה הזו? לא זוכר. וכמה פעמים כבר נכנסנו לפינה הזו? וואלה, לא סופר. המבוי סתום, כבר ניסינו הכל ולא השגנו מאום. הכביש חסום, לא יעזור כלום, איתנו זה תמיד נגמר בבום. הלכנו לסרט ושתק כל הדרך, את לא מדברת גם בארוחת ערב, כל כך רחוקה ומנוכרת, זה ככה כבר חצי שנה בערך, אני לא קולט מה שאת משדרת, אולי פשוט כדאי שנשחרר, נעזוב הכל ונוותר, מה שהיה כבר לא יהיה יותר, בואי נעצור לפני שזה מידרדר, שיהיה לפחות נעים להיזכר. בזמנים שהיה לנו טוב, לפני שהכל התחיל לכאוב, חשבנו שנהיה ביחד עד הסוף, עד הסוף. בזמנים שהרגשנו אני רואה את המבט בעינייך, מותק להמשיך לא כדאי בי, אבל לא אולי הגיע הזמן לומר לך ביי.
כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך, וכמה זמן נפלתי, כמה זמן כדי לחיות ברמה שלה. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. קדימה, די עזבי אותי. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, נו כבר. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. קדימה, די עזבי אותי. קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go. את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, נו כבר. לכי, ממי, אני לא נושם, כבר נפלתי, לא יכול יותר, אני לא מחפש לריב, נמאס לי כבר, יאללה ביי, קדימה צילי מחיי. קדימה, קדימה,